Hey, y'all. Conservatives love bold voices. We do. We need them. Ever so often, the voice gets so loud and it stops clarifying and really starts clouding. That's really the story of Candace Owens. She began as a fresh break from the stale talking points of the left. And now she's tangled in lawsuits, conspiracy theories, and even feuds with the very movement that made her famous. Tonight, we ask some of the hard questions. Is Candace Owens still a fighter for the cause, or has she become a cautionary tale? All right. I think everybody who's done this for a while, and I have been doing a podcast of some sort or another since March of 2008. And I got to partner with and interview people from Francis Rice and Jesse Lee Peterson, C.L. Bryant. You go on, Herman Cain, and it was because of this, and I think I've told this story before, and I'm going to tell it again. Um, Back in that time period, because again in 2008, y'all know who was running for president, right? So it was a heck of a time to start a podcast, and especially start a podcast that was conservative or Republican, that didn't speak glowingly about President Obama, then to be President Obama or candidate Obama, that actually asked questions and told a conservative slash Republican line of train of thought, and it was it was an interesting time to start what we started, and there was a lot of cooperation. I'll say it that way. There was a lot of cooperation between people who were of similar mindset. People would ask me, "So how did you get Jesse Lee Peterson on your program?" And the answer was, "I called them. I found their number and I called them." How did you get Herman Cain? Well, I knew somebody who was working on his local campaign, and I called her, and she gave me an email address, and I emailed them. And it wasn't long before I was talking to Mr. Cain. Well, how did you get a call him? Well, Willie, how did you end up on the Content of Character tour here in Tampa? Because I had a relationship with C.L. Bryant. Well, how'd you do that? I emailed him, and then I called him, and then we talked. As a matter of fact, we communicated yesterday because there was that sort of spirit of collaboration and support inside the Black conservative movement, if I can put it that way. Um, and when people came on the scene, then it was almost, and I don't know if this is right or fair, but it was almost expected that we would cooperate and help each other. I got um Zoe, Alfonso Rachel, to come out and do my Juneteenth event. Flew them out, put them up. Was happy to do it. Made room for me. Flew across the country and made room for what we were doing. That's the sort of cooperation. Crystal Wright, um, Shirley Huzar. I mean, if I sat down and thought about it, because it's been a while, it's been since 2008, and it's been a lot going on since then. Yeah, on this laundry list of of people who were Black on the right? But then Candace Owens shows up, and she shows up, and she is hot as fire. And I got to tell you that that whole thing was, for me anyway, and I wasn't used to it, completely different. Well, for me anyway, I thought, great. I mean, this Candace Owens chick is hot as fire. She's saying a lot of stuff that, um, quite frankly, a lot of people aren't talking about. And we were talking about it a little bit, but it wasn't the center of what we were talking about. We were trying to stay on policy and those kinds of issues because we thought that those were ultimately important, not only just to the Black community but to our American community at large. Um, but this young Black woman was honing in hard, honing in hard on a lot of the things um, that were hot at the time. Basically calling the Black community out on a lot of their madness, a lot of its madness. So I, being foolish and naive, I don't know how else to put it. I thought, well, what if I try to get her on a program? I told you a little bit ago that that's how I'd gotten everybody on the program. I just call and ask them. Got an email, said, "Hey, listen, my name is Willie Lawson. We do morning report, or when the show was called the Willie Lawson Show, or whatever it was called the Rational Black Man Show back in the day. What a terrible name! But people would call up and call me Rational because I didn't want them to know my name, although my name was everywhere. In any case, and no matter how many emails I sent, and I sent a bunch. When I say a bunch, I mean probably more than 100. With clips of the show. So, and I always do that when I'm asking somebody to join me on the show. Uh, I used to do a lot more interviews than I do now. Uh, I always, send them a clip of the show so they know what to expect. This is what we talk about. Here's the website, so you can go look at the website. So you knew what we were talking about. So you weren't going to get blindsided. Um, and never easily 100 emails. Some of them short. Hey, saw your video. Your video is super cool. Love to have you on the show for 10 minutes. Something else that I would do, I would say, you know what, give me 10 minutes. And the people who gave me 10 minutes to start with, 10 minutes exactly. I watched the clock and I wrapped up in 9.5 minutes and gave them time to talk about how to get them money or support, and they were out. I tried my best to be a professional about that. Um, Nothing. Silence. Complete silence. Not like, hey, I got your email and I'd love to be on the show, but we're super busy. Let me look at my schedule. Lie to me. Lie to me. Let me look at my schedule and we'll see if there's something we can do. I'll try to get back to you in a couple of weeks. Nothing. Not a lie. Nothing. Zero. And this went on for a while. And I'm not gonna lie. I was a little put off by it. I was absolutely put off by it. But I noticed something else. She wasn't collaborating with anybody else. She wasn't collaborating with C.L. Bryant. She wasn't collaborating with Shirley Huzar or Crystal Wright or Alfonso Rachel and all the people who have been in this struggle for a while. She wasn't. K. Carl Smith, another one. She wasn't. And I had learned, like a lot of people learned, that that wasn't long ago. She was a Democrat. Long ago, she was a left-leaning blogger. She was on the left a little bit ago, like a minute ago. So I don't. So I thought about it this way. Maybe she doesn't know any of us. And okay. And then I got the feeling that maybe she doesn't. Not only that she doesn't she know, she doesn't want to know. Her YouTube presence got huge, huge. Her Instagram, YouTube, all that social media stuff got monstrous. She got a chance to work with PragerU. She was part of 20, part of TPUSA, Turning Point USA, and was in partnership with Charlie Kirk in the launch of Turning Point UK. She landed a major role on the Daily Wire, one of the largest voices on the right at the time, because she would say things that he wouldn't say. But after a while, and again, during all this, I didn't see her collaborate with anybody else but Brandon Tatum. Nobody else but her and Brandon Tatum, right? Maybe Kanye West. But the rest of us, the people who had been doing this for years, and I'm telling you, I wasn't asking for any money. I wasn't asking for a hands up. I wasn't asking her to be on her show. I wasn't asking her to to elevate me to her platform. But it makes a difference if we show some sort of united front, if we can work together. We can put all the pieces together because everybody was talking about something different. Alveda King is focused on abortion, and Alveda, yes, Alveda's been on my show. And people like Dr. Carol Swain, yeah, she's been on my show a couple of times. And like I said, if I had a minute just to write the names down, it isn't that I'm name dropping. It's the level of cooperation and collaboration in the Black conservative movement that I had been used to. It didn't happen with this person. I was like, cool. Okay, so I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I get it. I'm not everybody's, cup of coffee or a bottle of Coke. I get it. However, I didn't see this happening with anybody else. I didn't see her collaborating with anybody else other than Brandon Tatum, who was quite frankly also new, also brand new. Couldn't get a hold of him either because it was their brand that they were more concerned about than anything. That was our opinion then. And I'll tell you how we got, or how I, not we, how I got to that opinion. That it was their brand that they were more concerned about than anything else. Billy Graham famously said he believed the next move of God would be believers making a difference in the marketplace. In the fall of 2019, Anton Kresick moved to Washington, D.C. And as Anton began his career in the political arena, two things became obvious. Godly principles were lacking on both sides of the aisle, and many organizations were putting profits before people. 7 Weeks Coffee was started to reverse this trend and live out Graham's calling as believers in the marketplace. As a values-based business, 7 Weeks Coffee has a simple and transparent mission. Donate 10%, a tithe, of every sale to pregnancy care centers across the nation. They are committed to earning your trust, not expecting it. So how do they do this? Leading with their values, showing the impact and providing the highest quality product. I am a Christian. I'm conservative. And 7 Weeks Coffee unapologetically supports pregnancy care centers across the nation. Please join us by letting your coffee serve a greater purpose. When you won't share the platform or spotlight with other Black conservatives, I thought it immediately, wow, wow, this means something. And at the time, frankly, I didn't know quite. It took me a while to figure out what it meant, but it meant something. It was they were they were very standoffish. I guess that's the word, standoffish. And I thought, well, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. But then it started to happen. It started to happen. She started going back and forth with Ben Shapiro. Now, frankly, a lot of us have not asked for collaboration, or I've never sent an email to Ben Shapiro for to come on the show and to be interviewed or to talk about anything. Never. Wasn't my focus. He has a focus. I have a focus. We have a job to do, like a football team. Some people are wide receivers, some people are left guards. It is the job of the left guard to do what the job of the left guard is to do. It's a quarterback job to do what a quarterback's job is to do. It's a defensive end to do what the defensive end is supposed to do, and those positions aren't interchangeable. I never asked them. I spent my time asking people who weren't in the Black conservative movement, who are politicians, other figures, to come on the show. But if I'm gonna tell you though, if Shirley Huzar, Urban Game Changers, God bless her, I miss her so much, needed me for something, I was there. When C. O'Brien said, "Hey, you want to be on the Continent Character Tour in Tampa?" I said, "You bet you, I do, I do, I would be honored." And while I'm on the stage, my chest, my heart, I'm having heart problems. I took some nitroglycerin tabs on the stage with me in my hand. And when the conversation got heated a little bit, it was my turn and my chest started to hurt. I'd pop a nitroglycerin tab under my tongue. That's how badly I wanted to be there. And then he helped me there and he continues to help me. People like Chris Ann, Chris Ann Hall, same thing. We're going the same direction. We're going to help each other. Melanie Collette, Dwayne Lester, all the folks at Grassfire, Eric Odom. I could go on, and I will, and I will, because we were all in this together. Except they were more concerned, Brandon and Candace, about their brand being separate and distinct from everything else that came before, because they had built their own following, they had built their own brand, they had built their own platform, and they were very, very protective of it. Because I didn't see them other than Turning Point USA and Prager partnering with anybody, Daily Wire. And when those things came to an end, nobody heard from them. We didn't. All the people that I mentioned, all the people who were involved doing media, doing on YouTube, doing producing content, nobody heard from them. And why that was, because that's when I think just starting to go over the edge a little bit. Be a little bit more edgy. Stuff like this. Uh, you know, Candace claimed that French First Lady Bridget Macron is a dude. Why? What? Okay, I know that we are. We've had this discussion about the so-called trans movement, but why would you go that far? What could you possibly hope to accomplish? It's just like some of you who we entertain memes and jokes about Michelle Obama being a man. Stop. And every time I'm like, please, please stop it. Doesn't help. So what happens? Emmanuel Macron and Bridget Macron, they hit her back with a defamation lawsuit in a Delaware court. I mean, this is a Twitter battle. This is international leaders dragging an American pundit into court. This is a person who has built have brand and some influence, and now she's involved with some BS. I mean, some nonsensical BS. And while this is going on, now she is at the point where um, she is trying to push the theory that Charlie Kirk Killer is being framed somehow. Why? The answer. I mean, the question that a lot of us are asking is why? Why is she deciding to do this now? For what reason? What could she possibly hope to accomplish? It seems like you're going over the edge. And why are you going off the edge? But there seems to be the only one answer is that as your popularity is diminishing, you have to go further. You got to go further out there. You got to. It's like she's trying to be the new Alex Jones. Just keep throwing it up against the wall, hoping that something sticks. Because now it's not about the movement, it's not about the cause, it's about the Candace. And frankly, it's only about the Candace. Well, some of us, the more cynical of us, thought it's been a long time. It's always been about the Candace and never about the cause. And even to a as much as he can, because I think they're friends. I don't know. I don't know either of them personally. I've never met either of them personally, but it seems like even Brandon Tatum is like it's got to be more about the cause than the Candace. But right now, it is obvious, it is apparent that this is much more about the Candace than the cause. Now I'm saying Candace Owens is talented, no doubt. I'm not saying that she's not talented. She is. She's sharp. She's quick. She's fearless. But when she ties herself too tightly I mean, when we tie ourselves too tightly to personalities like her, one of the episodes of Morning Report that I got the most responses from is one that I was critical of her, and I wasn't even all that critical, really. I was probably less critical of her in that episode than I've been in this one for sure. And people came after me. Beyonce has the beehive and Candace has the sea hive. Because I was an old man, and I was like, someone had a great analogy, and I remember it. And I don't even have to look it up. She said, you said, you had the quarterback of that team that wasn't successful, and then you got sat on the bench, and then a new young quarterback came in, and now the team is successful, and you're upset about it. You're jealous about it. You're feeling a certain way about it. Okay, I can see how you think that. I do. I can see how you think that. And some of you now who are watching this think that that's what the deal is. But I swear to you, it's not. Because it was never, and it has never been about me. People would ask me after I got off the stage somewhere, like, where have you been? Who are you? And my go-to response is, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. You know, I live down the street, I work around the corner. I'm just a guy. I'm just like you. I don't mind. I don't mind the microphone. And whether I should or not, I don't mind the camera. So for me, it's always been about the cause. It's never been about Willie. But I think that what you're seeing now, that is this is all about Candace. This is no longer about the cause. Now, Candace is still on the stage. She's still drawing cameras, but the story has shifted. She's no longer the rising star who made the left nervous. She's the headline that makes her own side nervous. The warning for us is simple: passion without grounding burns us fast. And when it does, it can scorch the very cause that it claims to serve. My name is Willie Lawson. This is Morning Report. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. If you disagree with me, I get it. A lot of you will. And if you agree with me, write it in the comments. Probably fewer of you will do that than anything else. And if you like the background, say so in the comments. I wasn't going to use it, but when I looked at it, I really like it. Not that I want to be president. I don't want to be a pastor, and I don't want to be president. Those are two jobs I do not want. Thank you very much. Anyway, we got to get out of here. Take care. Be well.